recording. We're gonna make sure everything's working. Can someone say something? Just so that we get the
Hello.
the audio. Audio is beautiful. All right.
You're
Welcome
beautiful.
to VOD Review, July 6th. No, I'm kidding. So I've just got four
Presented
topics.
by Herman Miller.
Presented by Herman Miller. We're going to be going through 4 topics, and then people can feel free to layer in. Most of what we're talking about here is going to be about some of the positioning stuff in P1, because just like we talked about yesterday, all we care about is positioning in P1. I mean, obviously we want to be doing damage. We want to come out of P1 at about the 60% mark, but like 63 to 60 is all good. But the way that we do that well is by getting everyone to the last soak, which is, I believe, in the X triangle here. So we go all the way around, come out near X, we do the last soak, and we get everyone in the rate of 6 stack. And that is going to be where we do the most damage, because we're all going to have, I think, 20 or 30% increased damage. I don't know the exact number. I think it's 30. So the way that we're going to do that, there's a couple things in P1. It's mostly beams and torments. No surprise there. A lot of the kinks that we worked out in terms of our formation with the runes got sorted, right? We've got the triangle strat. Everyone got that pretty well in hand. But there are a couple things that I wanted to talk about. The first is around torment specifically. And it's I'm using currently a log from one of our later pulls, right? But you see the same behavior in other pulls as well. And for just as for science, we can jump to another one later. But and it comes not on the first torment. Our first torment spread is actually really healthy, right? This is our on pull. Everyone has a torment debuff here. If we look at our spread, I think the only people that might be touching right here are Elves and Villainy, but they get out, right? We have a super healthy spread, no overlapping circles for the first torment. The second torment is where things get a little bit spicy, because it comes right after a mind control, right? So just so that we can orient ourselves in the fight here, we have 6 people jumping in runes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those pillars are about to spawn, and we're going to get the first Relentless Domination cast. So this, you can see the whole raid line of sighting. We have Kazaya up here in actual Africa for some reason. I don't know why you're here, but you got a line, so I get it. Taco's riding the inner lane because he has to run quickly over here. That makes sense. I think Villainy, this was just like a panic line. But as much as we can, and then you go back all the way around. Yeah, that was definitely a panic line. As much as we can with this, we want our range to feel the ability to cheat almost all the way out, as far back as here, right? We want to be able to pre-spread. So this is Holy Stain right here, just hoofing it away from the boss. Now, this is only possible, and so the rest of our range who are hard up on this pillar can also be doing that. We effectively want you 1 hex back running this way so that you can scatter on this last.
To be clear, this is second right before the double, right?
This is the second torment, yeah, right before the double soak, right after the first mind control. Great. So we're in our first hex. We get the second set of runes. They jump in. Here go the runes. Boss is casting mind control. We're lining as a raid, right behind the pillar that's now spawned here. If we just let it roll and watch where the torment movement goes, we actually get a pretty okay spread. But the range that we're scattering from here, the whole group runs effectively like this in the similar, and melee split off south, range split off east in this little picture. And we get a pretty okay spread, but it doesn't have to be as hectic as it is. And doing this will kind of let us reduce the total amount of movement that we're doing when we can hit the boss, right? Now, what that means, though, is from a tanking standpoint, we also need the boss to be up closer against this pillar, or even just in the center of this hexagon. Because if we have the boss up here, range can, I think, even get all the way out to this hex without being in line of sight for the mind control, if we get proficient like that. So we can have the ranged already a fair bit along to the next quadrant if we have the boss positioned well up against this guy. So what that would mean is, as these pillars are going in, as the runes go out tanks, you would just take a couple steps back before the jailer casts. So I'm not sure. It looks like Rek has the boss here.
No, I move him there because I taunt him over from Rek. He gets the first combo, and I position him over there. And at that point, Rek taunts me after I get the slammo right there, so I can just take a few more steps.
It's just a couple more steps, yeah. And then we should be
toward the bottom of the triangle, right?
No, toward
toward the outer rim of the platform.
Toward this wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, okay.
And that's just gonna give us a lot more space for torments. Like you can see here, Holy is already out, right? He is already zooming as the boss is finishing his cast. He's not out of line. He doesn't get mind controlled. And then he's in his spot and he plants and he's, I think, ramping for this torment. But the whole idea is ranged, can already be here, not have to run as far. Like we don't have to have Ben back here when he needs to be potentially with the soak group, right? It's just going to let us get to the soaks faster because immediately after this next set of runes, we have soaks, right? So here we have another set of 6 runes going out, and then we have soaks. But now you've got, like, if you look at our poor warlocks here, right? These guys have to go and shuffle like all the way around, right? So that's the whole thing. If we're able to just get ourselves a couple extra hexes over, I think it'll make a big difference in the long run. But let me pause there, see if there are any questions.
So go over that last movement that you wanted one more time.
It's actually I have a whole clip and about that specific thing, but the short of this topic is for positioning prior to Relentless Dominations, wherever we want the raid hiding, which is generally going to be on the left pillar, right? This is back right, back left, top. This is left right. We're going to be hiding behind the left pillar generally as we're moving clockwise around the room. The Galaxy Brain play would be to take the boss one whole hex back prior to the tank combo, right? So we do the link, we connect, right? So if we look at this again, we connect, boom, 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 we're healing Azeroth. This movement, by the way, it's okay if Wither's the closest. We want to actually just plant during, like once we touch, as long as the beam is going to the center, we want to just not move our feet. It ended up being okay here. Everyone got the right number of stacks. But when you move laterally like this, you risk unlinking yourself or like diverting the beam from Azeroth. So if right here we just take the boss after the beam link is done, one whole hex back, we're not moving this way. We're able to move all the way into the next quadrant. So that would be the biggest brain play, would be to go one full hex back from the inner circle prior to the Relentless Domination.
Does it have to be after the beam soak, or can I move them before then?
You can go pre.
I don't know if the beam will, like, reach me, so to speak, and kind of arc down.
It shouldn't. There are instances where it does that, and we'll talk about it. But I don't think, Nash, that would be you in this case. Because, like, as long as moving the boss doesn't drag the melee cluster up, so because we need, like, if you look at where we have the widest gaps, right? Ben and Ice are in assigned spots. They're doing great. You know, we've got the Warlocks down here. Wither could take a couple steps north, right? So he's kind of up here so that we have, like, a nice continuous line and we don't risk a break between, like, either Rev or Rek, who are down here anchoring. Because if we drag the melee stack up and Rev and Rek move up, now we don't really have anyone connecting Wrath and Wither, right? That would be my one concern. But as we get more comfortable with the ranged and, like, the Warlock beam positioning there, that shouldn't be an issue.
You're gonna have to move him during the beam, though, right? Doesn't he start casting the tank thing during it?
Right.
He casts it, like, immediately afterwards. So if we look at this,
If you backpedal on the beam line, he should move.
yeah, he should go. So we're beam, 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 beam. Next up is Matridum. He's going to cast it. So yeah, he's mid Matridum cast right there. Actually, it looks like. So yeah, so we would have to move him pre-beam. Yeah, because he's queuing. Even right here, he's queuing Matridum on you, Nash. Yeah. So you're rooted at this point. So you would actually have to go one full hex back after the big move. So we're all over here. We take the gate, right? When you taunt and move, you should just be back a hex, and I think we're golden.
So I'll have him at that point. There's no taunt swap at that.
Oh, but even easier. Yeah. So just
So I
just
can
bring him
drag further.
one more back.
Yeah.
We're good. For the rest of the raid, what that means is we wouldn't line of sight behind this face. We would line of sight behind this face, and you could walk all the way over here.
Literally,
so
yeah, literally right now, middle warlock and all of the melee would be LOS from the last domination.
And mage and boot, like everyone over here. Yeah. So that it would just give us a lot more free up time. Because once we're come out of this, we don't want to be moving. Like now the boss is attackable, we want people on target. So we don't want everyone doing a bunch of movement there, like compensating, right? So that blink was for a rune, which is fine. But like we would, as much as we can, we would already want the range group in position. So.
And this is going into third wedge, second double soak. Is that right, or is this first double soak?
It's the first double soak.
That's right, right.
So yeah, so this is our single soak right here, and
Single
then
soak.
we with single soak,
Bang, bang, boom.
we line, and then we go. But we would
And
be
this
lining
principle
one next to
adheres to the second double soak as well.
the other. I don't think so because we aren't gating it. But his next relentless domination is at star, but we could do the same thing. We wouldn't have a gate to like handle the tank big move, so this move might be harder on the tanks.
Okay.
But ideally, we would have a back one hex still here, right?
Could I make a comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
The second tank soak, if you back up the video, the replay a little bit, if we
For the
position
martyrdom?
it,
Right here.
if we position it where Els is, we can actually get knocked into the purple quadrant rather than getting knocked back, which would probably help with movement, right?
Oh, so you're saying
Like if
have
you-
Rex stand here?
Yeah, if you play it, we all get actually knocked like off the platform rather than to the next area. And if I'm
would
wondering if
say-
that would help.
As somebody who has to run from the tip to that spot, I agree with that.
Okay.
We just have to be really
Yeah.
careful because the next triangle is open still.
Right, it would be
Yeah,
so.
it'd be really.
So the knock
easy
is
to
coming
get
right
double.
here. Now he's rooted.
Then-
Now people are stacking in. Here comes the knock. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
get
but-
knocked to purple.
But if we have the boss here, which is what we're talking about, right? Then Rex position I think would be fine because we'd be wrapping around this hex. You would get knocked this way, right?
It probably help the room people too, right? Because those go out like immediately.
They do, and it would just help us get more space to line because the same thing again. We could have this whole group, like everyone already be over here, whether you're getting knocked or not. So that's the torments and the positioning that I wanted to talk about. Any questions on that specifically? We're going to do a lot of talking about beams next, so I don't want to focus on that just yet.
I mean, I don't know if it's really relevant because it just pertains to me and the soaking, but
Go ahead.
for the tank soaks, we got to, there were many iterations last night, but we got to a point
Yeah.
where I just wasn't in one. Is there one for tomorrow, for the future, that I can just be in that would help, or no?
I mean, the more soakers, the better. If you're not in a line, I would soak with the with the healers plus Ben group. Karen.
Okay.
Right, because the misery damage is evenly split among all people in it. But
Yeah, I
get-
knew. That's why I was at. But by the end of the night, it was like melee or group 2, and then healers plus Ben, and then group 2, and I was like, so I didn't want to just hop in just. In
Well, yeah,
case,
it was
I-
melee plus biz, and then group 2 plus Ben, and then healers plus Ben.
Right,
So, yeah,
so
you
if
can step
there's
in
one-
with the Ben group.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yep. No, that's a fair call out. Anything else on torments or soaking?
Yeah, I will say I'll own up to the fact that I was. I guess it's the second, the third torment. Don't hurt yourself, kid. Third torment that overlaps with the second soak.
The runes.
That's
right
is
here.
right.
We have
Yes.
the beams into the
It's
torment.
yeah,
into the
lines,
runes.
torments, double soak. I'll own up to the fact that I was pressing AM at the wrong time, and that will help smooth that out a lot tomorrow.
Okay.
Right there.
Awesome.
Well, plus you're gonna have another splitter now, so.
Yeah. So next is beams. And the moral of the story, before we dive into this, I've got a couple examples. You'll see some specific people doing things that we're going to talk about. They're not the only people doing these things. These are the examples that we have in the VODs. So if you're singled out here, it's not like a pure indictment of your play over the course of the whole night. It's just good from a demonstrative purpose, and I was easily able to link what happened with a video. So this is going into, so same poll we were just looking at, going into the first double soak, right? We've got the boss. You can kind of see the first soak line. You can kind of see the second group. You've got a boomkin over here who's going to be coming down. I'm going to play this in slow-mo for a second so that people can kind of see what's going on. But basically, the beam is going to get diverted the wrong direction. So right now, the way that the beam works is it jumps to the closest player, right? So, who's not already connected. So that would, right now, I think it would be Kieran, Ben, Ferris, Rek, Zarnik, right? You can kind of trace where it would go. But if Kieran is further than Zarnik, it's going to go like this, not like that, right? So as much as we can, whenever we're going to connect, we want to already be, I think Ben actually is the one who makes the link, so I think people will filter in. But you want to be already in the position by the time we touch. But I'm just going to hit play here, and you can watch what happens. So all of the people with this icon effect are linked currently. So you can see we've got everyone linked right now except for Ben, right?
I started.
You started it, yeah. And then we've got everyone in the range group linked currently, right? But if I let it roll, we're going to, and there I missed my moment. So if we let it roll, we're going to peel out with the druid. Ben gets linked in, and then we're just kind of floating over here. What happens there is we risk linking the ranged beam to nothing, not healing Azeroth, having 2 less people with the damage amp buff. But we already know that Ben only has, actually Ben has no stacks right now, it looks like, of that debuff on him. Well, it may not show it in this interface, but we want to make sure that we're maximizing that positioning. So what that looks like in a video view, you can kind of trace where the beam goes here, right? And I'll shut up for a second so we can hear the audio.
This audio I cannot hear.
You'll know?
It is very quiet.
I had to turn it up on the video. It was down.
Okay, sorry about that. Touching 2, 1. So if you watch the touch here, right? If we look at where the beam is going, it's coming from over here. It looks like it should be going into Azeroth, but it actually jumps across to the other group. So we miss a heal on Azeroth, we're double stacking our ranged, and at the same time we risk the drag mechanic that we were talking about there. So what that means, some of the raid has a 4 stack, which is generally okay. But it means that we took more damage than we were expecting there. And I know that on healers, this is already kind of a stressful portion. If we have a 4 stack here and we refresh that going into the next set, we're going to end up having a 7 stack, which will actually just, like, I think, 1-tap you. I don't think you can go above 6. But you can kind of see... the beams are super touchy, and I'll play it again just so we can see it. Right, the pillars go up. The line that we're supposed to do is from here through the group into this hex and into Azeroth. So if we look at that, right, we've got the line, but we've got in this case, a trailing Warlock over here, and we've got our Druid moving across at the same time. As the Warlock moves, we drag the beam with the Warlock not into the boss, which connects it into the range group, and all we're doing in this case is making one big line from this puddle all the way to the other Azeroth Blood Puddle and back. So we're taking hits from both Azeroth Blood Puddles for a minute there. If you watch my stacks of the debuff, it's right here. I'll go 1, 3, 4. So there's a moment where both groups are connected, and Taco there actually got a 5-stack, so he's going to be blasting, which is great, but we're missing Azeroth health, and we're risking random deaths. So as much as we can, we want to avoid that late movement. We can make the ranged connection with 4 people. It is possible, but people have to be kind of evenly spread. The beams don't link beyond like 1 full hex away. So if your buddy's standing in the middle of their hex, you can't be all the way on the other end of yours. You have to be in the middle bit. Another example of a similar issue with beams, or let me before we go into another topic, does the late move effect here make sense with these beams?
Yeah, and I think that honestly, I think that that's probably
Only
like just emphasizing that it hooks back is, I think, sufficient. Go ahead, Codex.
the only thing that was a little bit confusing to me was why my link wasn't into Azeroth. It's just
It
because
prefers players. It just prefers players before going in. You're close, but the late move like this is what hooked it across.
Okay. So I guess my question, I guess, is there was nothing I could have done to have fixed this.
It was less your fault and more our fault, the Warlock. I
Yeah.
think it wouldn't have been me.
Right, but I'm just saying,
Well-
like, if there's something I can do to help mitigate it, that's what
I think if
asking.
you can stand, like, maybe tuck yourself in, but then you risk lining yourself because I think there are pillars up at this point. I think you're in the right
I think
spot.
it's easier for me to be a little further away from you because I have more room
Yep.
to go the other way than you do to go the opposite way.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's right.
So
This-
I'll favor the left hex more than
This-
that right hex.
This is an isolated example where we're picking on druids and warlocks, but it's not universally you guys. This is like a global raid problem. As kind of evidence to that, we're going to talk about another example here, where again we see a hookback problem. So I'm going to run this again at 0.5 speed, just so that we can kind of see what's going on. But you can, if you were to trace your lines in this moment, right? We're starting at square, and we're starting, I think here, and we're tucking all the way around like this, and our goal is to go around this hex like this. So we should have 2 complete lines going into the boss, but if you look at how people are positioned, if we come around like this, we have kind of a 50-50 shot that the beam comes up versus going in, and if it comes up, it's going to go across. So if we let it play, right, we're going to get a touch.
Holy shit, where's that Warlock going?
Hey, sometimes the soaks are farther, and they're
he's going on a journey. The soak starts here for reference. But the example so we see Holy stepped in, we're going bend, we're going around, and we're connecting like this. We're going into the middle, but we've got kind of a straggler off to the side. I don't know why that keeps popping up. That's super annoying. That will steal the beam for a moment. You saw that micro movement that Schwab had. That connects like this, and it's going to divert the beam from Azeroth for a second, as much as we can, right? Like Kieran's a little out of position here. That is what it is. As much as we can, avoiding like that tiny movement or that tiny movement, just like calm your fingers during the beams. We want to connect, we want to plant, and then we want to move when it's done. Because if we've got the link to the middle, there's a possibility that micro movement will like chain us across like we had in the last example, or just divert here and take it away from Azeroth for a second. So you see these guys get disconnected, and then Schwab moves back, and then they get reconnected again. So we have this weird effect where tiny movement can divert beams. All of that gets mitigated if we're standing in the hook pattern, right? But in the event that someone's in the wrong spot, we can mitigate some of that by just calming our fingers and planting. So what that looks like, and again, I've turned up my my browser audio here, so hopefully you can hear it okay. We're gonna line and then remember we're cooking. What that looks like, just practice this. Coming around the line, moving into the double soak. This is the pattern we just talked about. We connect. Here's the stray shaman. Follow the beam. Again, with your eyes, you should see it coming through the raid and going into Azeroth. But if you look briefly, just there, it diverts here, isn't touching the middle. So we still get a tick here, but we miss a heal on the boss, and we miss the healing amp on, in this case, Codex and Rek. And then Schwab steps back, the beam reconnects into the center. We get our third tick, and we end up doing Azeroth. So we, again, it's minor stuff, but the takeaway is, as much as we can, we want to be calming our fingers with these. We want to get into position, we want to touch, and we want to stay. The movement here, I think, is because of the mind control lines, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have movement, but if we're expecting to have a little movement, we got to just make sure that we're not creating
Back up a
a
little
beam
bit
pattern
here,
that we
just
could
a
go
second.
chaotic. Yeah. Where do you?
So-
where you want?
I was going to emphasize that this is one of the places where just pulling the boss up to the second hex means that there's just a huge amount more real
Yeah.
estate that ranged can play with here. So the MC
Yep.
lines, like the VOD I have pulled up on the other screen, is literally the ranged on this third soak are already in position before the domination starts
Right.
casting.
Right. So where we'd want the boss is this hex right here. So just one hex over.
And that allows, there's just a huge amount of wiggle room.
Yep. Definitely worth emphasizing.
Yeah, I think Rek has him at that point.
Like I'm about to
Yeah.
post a screenshot in the channel. This is where the ranged are standing in this VOD.
Which channel are you posting?
Zaval just posted it. So
Right.
and they're out of LOS here.
Right. Which is Zaval being the one hex over. They actually have it one hex over the other direction from what we're talking about, which is also viable, but they're lining off the first pillar, not the
And then
pillar.
3 globals later, the MC lines come out and they're already in position. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think either move works. I think we just have to pick one and commit to it. So we're looking at either putting the boss here, where Codex is, or putting the boss, or here. Right now we've kind of got it split the difference. So, or actually, not even where Codex is, just one hex over this way, so that he can't peek out and see these guys. So we either need it this way or this way. I mean, this way might actually be
Would it be the top one?
The top one?
Wouldn't it be like where like immediately north of Star? Behind like the top?
Oh yeah. So
Like-
we would want the boss to stop there then. Right? If we're lining off because this is top, if this is our triangle set, I see what you're saying. So we would want the boss here or here. So if we need to move less, we can, and then people can line with this pillar that's going to spawn all the way over in this squadron. I mean, it's the same effect.
I think the diamond marker will be better because
Okay.
that'll allow people to get to their rune hole assignments better, rather than having people potentially having a melee standing near, not quite to star, and then
Right.
having to run all the way to diamond.
Yeah, this is a much bigger move from like if we're fighting over here going back this way versus kind of central. That's a fair point. I think either works. It's just a tank and raid preference.
That's Nash's move again too, right?
It looks like it, yeah.
I think so.
Rip.
I imagine it's just like. Also, the tighter you can get it to the pillar coming up, the
better.
The better, yeah.
less angle he has to see people for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, like here, the whole raid's lighting, but he can see like everything over here. So even if we just walked him a couple steps further, we would already be able to cheat out. So anyway, those are beams. I have a couple other weird beam hook examples. A couple other weird beam hook things. This one is about positioning behind the stack. So here, again, you can kind of trace the pattern. It's the same example, but we've also got a straggler this way, so we risk just connecting here and then passing to no one, which is kind of just high risk in general, but it's the same example. We want to just make sure that as much as we can, if we're committing to a question mark, I like to think of this hook as the question mark pattern. We've got people stacked in. And then I've got a different pulls example where we again have kind of a big double move. This was the one that we were looking at where we made the full U. So we got a lot of things going on with beams. I picked a couple pulls just as an example. But if we pick a pull that goes the distance and we look at the soaks again, right, at that same point in the fight, which is right here, right, we've kind of got a similar situation where we've got Kieran drifting sort of on this inner side when we need to be in the line. And we've got some late movement coming out, right, where you can see we're connecting the beam across. We're actually double connecting again. And we're going to get a bunch of stacks of that debuff. And then here, we also disconnect because, again, we've got someone south of the group here. We disconnect from the whole raid, and we've got just these three people taking the beam. So, 2 takeaways from our beam section. Do your best to get to your spot on time. If you can't get to your spot on time and there are already 4 people there, stop moving. And then, Kieran, as much as you can, just try and be up with the group. I know it's tempting to kind of cheat down. But...
but like those ones that you specifically pointed out, I was out of position because of those were the no damage pulls, and I was literally healing people. And I quickly corrected that afterwards.
Got it.
But
okay. Well, I mean, this was the last pull that we had, but yeah, yeah. I mean, these are isolated examples. I think we just the message is to everyone, not just Kieran. If we've got a pattern set out in the raid plan, let's do our best to commit to it. Here again, we've kind of got a similar thing going on, where you see we've got range chaining like this, because we've got late movement. So it's a recurrent issue, but we need to just make sure we're getting to the right place in our stack. Any other questions on beams from the team here?
I mean, the only other thing that would be a constant is the knock-up, like landing, right? Does that happen together in succession for most people?
No, never with
like
the beams.
No, like, is it right after is what I'm saying. So people are in the air and then like trying to get there late. Is that what?
There's always a 2-second at minimum gap between runes, touch, runes, touch, land, 1, 2, touch. In which case, if people need us to wait, we can call a wait, but we probably don't want to hold for more than like 1 or 2 seconds at most.
I also want to reiterate something we said last night, but just make sure that it's emphasized here. You should be aiming to use a health potion, not stone, during this first phase, because it's a long enough fight that you're gonna have 2 health potions, and phase 1 and phase 4 are the 2 big damage phases, and in between them are like relatively lower damage phases. So it is a-okay to invest that health pot in phase 1. It's when we are the most likely to lose people to random shit, just to too much damage coming in.
Yep. So I've got another raid plan just from the Raid Lead Exchange, and I've got our own, just sort of so people can trace the assignments and what that means, right? We're shifting gears a little bit to forward thinking. Our phase 1 is getting a lot better. The stuff that we talked about so far is like positional nitpicking. If we get to the last solo soak with everyone alive and we take a 6-stack, people press their personals and we live. The boss is good. We're going to easily hit phase 2. We saw a little bit of it yesterday. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there's one last thing I want to emphasize in phase 1.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That's the easiest way to do this. I literally just wanted to watch a like 15-second clip of that VOD that I was showing of them moving into position and really pre-moving to the second and third soaks.
Sure.
Like there was no.
Yeah, post the link. Whichever you want.
On the right channel. So starting at 1.
Oh, the Ellie Shaman one. Okay, yeah.
Yup. Starting at like 145.
Okay. Can you all see the POV here?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that was too late, but.
Just wasn't
That's fine.
expecting
That's
it
fine.
because I thought of it.
No, 145 is fine.
Oh, okay.
So this is the martyrdom into
Good thing that
runes.
before exists, because I forget I'm soaking there every time. This is into LOS spots.
Yep. So they're gonna get one more set
they
of
pull
runes.
onto the LOS spot. I just want to emphasize where the far soakers are going. Far soakers. He immediately moves into this far soak location.
Okay, that's not base. That's not either. That's not any of the 3 definitions.
Oh, right. What's?
Oh no! I hit next instead of mute. No.
That was 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So right here, they're already in position. The ones who are closest to the heart tuck in to make sure they're LOS. Then they're immediately back out. And ranged and melee are soaking almost simultaneously, and they're in position before those lines come out. And I think that's sort of the safest way to handle that. And although, it's a little. Basically, you're just like able to pre-move and make it to where you're doing way less movement with the lines. Then after that, it's just torment into the grip and gate.
And the second gate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the solo stoke
the single
with the full
soak,
raid. Yeah.
Which they are not even linking because they got 100% before. That's literally just everybody on top of each other with big cooldowns.
If we don't get 100% though, we would need our assigned range to step out and link there. Yeah.
And then the rest of the phase is literally just
do damage. And everyone's got that 30% damage amp here, so everyone's just doing big damn.
You're right, and you will have 2-minute buttons, so you're saving 2-minute buttons for this 40% damage. Bing bong.
Yep.
Big smash. The other thing I'll note is that looking at raid frames, there are people who have already used both their health, and that's a-okay. Because, as I said, this is the single biggest damage phase of the entire fight. This is the most raid-wide damage happening.
And you cut out but the statement was have used both health stones and health pots already.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, sorry. That's the last thing I wanted to say about phase 1. I think that it's just really important for people to realize that with appropriate positioning, the late movement just isn't necessary there. Does anybody have questions about that?
I have a question.
What's up?
So on the third, I think it's the third soak, there's an overlap. It's like the soaks and then the martyrdom goes out right after.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with that specifically because I have the debuff from the second soak, and it's like really hard to move from the melee clump out of the group quick enough without being smacked. Can I move like towards the back more, or will that be messing something up?
On the
third one, I think.
The soak.
Yeah, so it's like a soak, and then it's the martyrdom comes right after. So it's chain and then martyrdom. And
chain. Oh yeah, right. The grip in, and then right afterwards.
Yeah. Well, like the hook in, so like the chain into the heart of Azeroth.
Right.
Where like everyone's supposed to be like kind of clumped.
Real quick,
and then right after he smacks everyone.
I'm gonna zoom us through, Kazai. Can you keep me honest with where it is?
I mean, it's probably like one of the last pulls where I died. right at the end. So it's like
Well, this is
the third
what
soak.
this is our second to last
yeah,
pull
it's a
here.
third soak. It's
Okay.
a third soak.
It's
Which
like where
is-
we go soak lines, martyrdom.
Yeah,
Got
it's
it.
lines, and then there's like a chain, and then there's martyrdom.
Lines, chain.
It's the one that you
Martyrdom.
all the examples you gave where we kept chaining them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it is actually, yes.
Yeah.
So my issue is I got smacked a couple times because I have a hard time like getting out quick enough
148.
without being caught in the martyrdom because I'm in the melee clump, but I already have the debuff from the previous martyrdom soak.
So right there.
Right?
I would
right-
say
so
just
right
be
here. Okay.
anywhere in the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
well,
step
that's what I'm
out.
wondering if I can like be a little bit more further
So
back.
pause for a second. Pause for a second.
Yeah.
We're absolutely zipping and go back and pause, please. Thank you.
Did you get that, Kez? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
so-
right here, so my pause here for just a second. I'm underneath his rate frames. Like I step out because I know I can't take this soak. So I'm like up here at the top of the hook with
Yep.
Holy and Ben because I know I can't take this soak. Already
You,
like
yeah, you
out of the
can
way.
be anywhere along the path, even outside the martyrdom. But what you can't be is like back more.
Okay.
Like if you're back here, we're gonna break the chain. But if you're along the path here, you're golden.
Yeah, that was my question. If I was like along the path, I would still be safe.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
As long as you're not like way out and causing it to divert to you, you are okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That sounds good. I love
Okay.
how you can't say martyrdom though. It just is like
The
really
matridom?
Yeah,
The holy matridom?
the holy matridom.
Excellent. Any other P1 questions before we move on to future forward P2?
I came in a few minutes late, but is range, obviously we're doing our own thing, but was there anything major changing on our side?
Yes, because the tank is going to be for the far soaks. The tanks are going to be positioning the boss such that you can be in position before the domination.
All right, I did hear that. I wasn't sure. I got in
That was
when
the
you
big
guys were
one.
going over the hooks. Okay, great, cool.
That was the
Thank
big
you.
one. Yeah, everything else was just like how we were planning to position and what to and what not to do with the soaks. So I pulled this raid plan from the RLE Discord just because I think it's really intuitive, and I want to talk a little bit about P2. Obviously, all of the giant letters on this hurt my soul, but it does a good job of illustrating how other people are handling torments in P2. So torments in P1, you get a circle on you, it pops, you're done with it. In P2, leaves a little echo on the ground. Right now, your torments echo. So we need to be spread, but we need to be spread in such a way that we have somewhere to go to dodge our own echo and the echoes of our friends, right? So this is where we and these guys tanked the boss, right? At that hex, this is my adaptation with our people. You've got anyone who's unassigned, you can just kind of float, right? But you've got your melee in a little circle. We've got your healers spread in the back line so that they can reach people on either side. We do have one healer assigned to step in here. But basically, we have double soaks throughout all of P2, just the whole time. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring mind controls forward. We're gonna go to our torment, and these aren't hard spots. Holy doesn't have to be exactly on this line right here, but it's generally like Holy's gonna be up near these hexes, Kasai's gonna be up near these hexes, melee are gonna be spread around the boss. What's a little bit less spacey, and I leave it up to you guys as to like which side of the line you want to be on, is the people who are assigned. This has to be a little bit tighter. So for my ranged players, Raph, Wither, Holy Ice, and Ben, Kieran, Mood, Taco, you guys are going to be the ones connecting the double soaks in, which is nice because 1, you do more damage. Woo! And 2, you have to put your torment down in such a way that you can step out of the echo and into the line. So you need to drop your torment, not in the path of where we want the thing to go, and then step in so that you can get appropriately stacked, make the connection, and then we would move on to the next quadrant. In P2, the only thing with Torments is the Echo. Ads come later, but we need to make sure that folks have kind of a good grasp of how that be out, step in feel works. And the holes, I know there are holes in the raid plan. There are no holes in P2 yet at this point. They're all closed for the most part. The same thing is true of the people on the top side, right? You would drop your torments, step into the line, and then Ben would touch and you would connect the dots, right?
Right. Do we have a VOD of this, or can we watch a VOD of this?
I have that coming.
Awesome.
But
Sorry. I'm trying to picture it from the raid plan and.
No, you're good. The raid plan is helpful, but I wanted to show one other thing, which is big spooky lines. The other thing is Beyblades. So my soakers in this phase, you have one of your mandatory week, two of your mandatory week auras will pop up on your screen and basically put like a big plus sign on your screen, a big crosshair. You want to angle that crosshair. If we look at Wither's crosshair for a second, which is these two, let me make these a different color so we can talk about them. Wither's going to be orange for the moment. You're going to get a big crosshair. You want to angle your crosshair so that you are aiming at the last person in the other soak group, and not through the boss. So the boss is going to be up here. People are going to be doing their thing. Tanks are going to be going down this way. Beyblades are going to spawn. We want to point them kind of at the top. It's not an exact science, right? It doesn't have to be exactly 10 degrees or whatever it is. But you want to point them kind of at the top of the other group. What that looks like is this. So these are our people who are about to connect lines. I think this specific example, no, this is P2. This is a group who's about to connect lines. What you're going to get on your screen is this big old crosshair right here, right? You're going to have my controls coming out in a little bit. But
note that these tight little holes between the blood and the heart are closed.
Yes. They will always be closed, is my understanding for P2.
Yep.
Yes. So, but after you connect a line, that will cause the hole to open later. So, if we look at this, and this is, by the way, from the VOD that was linked, and we're gonna flash forward to a second here. So you see, we've got people getting in our line, and then we're gonna have, I think, this person take a step back once this guy gets in place, right? So he gets in place, your crosshair pops up. You can't exactly see the other group, but the important part is you're not putting this line through the boss. You're pointing it so that it's near the boss, towards where the other soakers are, and you're not putting your crosshair in any way, shape, or form through your friends or through the raid. And so what that'll look like is you connect the line. In just a second here, you're going to see this guy's going to take a step back in, and then you're going to spawn the Beyblades. So 1, 2, 3. It's 3 pulses, just like the number of ticks. You have to avoid the Beyblades if you're a Soki group, right? Because they're going, and we'll just go back and see that again. So your Beyblades are going to come out. 1, 2, 3. They move exactly along your crosshairs. You see how none of them are moving. And again, you see how none of them are near the raid at all. And the people who connected lines, especially the person who stepped in, is going to have to move out of the way of the Beyblades. If you touch a Beyblade, you do like a big 20-yard around you AoE for like 40k damage. It's pretty bad.
It's gonna be so scary the first time you guys do this, and you just watch these things swirling around you.
Yeah. Once we get good at handling, again, the crosshair pattern, you can see it again here. Once you get good at handling the crosshair pattern, these are really going to feel trivial. Just a total non-factor. So that's the Beyblade pattern.
Then the immediately after is Decimator will go on one of those ranged groups. It no longer has a knockback, so there's no longer a risk of getting knocked into a Beyblade.
Decimator, to be clear, is this mechanic right here.
Right.
Puts a big circle on the ground. It also has a frontal effect, which is hard to see because it's light blue on light blue. don't be in front of the boss here because you will also take big damage.
That no
This
longer
knockback, that knockback, yeah, that's what, yeah, doesn't occur. It just does damage now. You just take damage, you don't go flying. So in P2, the changes are our Torment's Echo. We have Beyblades from our Soakers, but the good news is that our Soakers are always the same. So the 8 people who have to learn it, Wrath, Wither, Codex, Ice, Ben, Kieran, Moo, Taco, it's just going to be you guys the whole time. And we've got the same rough position, right, all the way around the room. And so P2 for us is just scooting around the room. This is what the first configuration looks like. This is what the second configuration looks like, right? And I'm not going to drain all of these tonight. They're all in here in the raid plan. Tanks for you guys, I've put where the bombs go in this as well. So first bomb is down south here. Whoever gets it is just going to scoot on over here.
We'll have to
Second,
Rick.
yeah. Second bomb goes up here. I think probably Nash, you can make that one if you just spin the boss around. And then the third bomb is going to go over on the other pillar side, and the fourth bomb goes here. Our goal is to make this top one the one that connects. And then if we get one last tank bomb, it would go down south here. So we want this top one to be the one that connects and starts P3 at about the same time that we're doing this soak. So very exciting stuff. But in this phase, you also get mind controls. The mind controls will go on the front side of the boss, no matter where our configuration is. So close to the Heart of Azeroth, because they're going to be running off the side, and we want our melee to be able to just quickly turn and nuke them all down.
And I know this is still a raid plan, but if it's not too much to ask, can we just make sure that the chainers are the same order every time? I noticed in the last one, I was third, and in that one, I'm second.
Oh, I think I had you guys switched because I was like moving you around in this example. I think you should be third every time.
Okay, yeah, that's all I'm saying. If I'm third every time,
No, I think I just fucked it up when I was messing with that first one, so that's my bad. I will make sure it's consistent everywhere.
So I'm second from the.
Second from the link, third from the middle. Yep.
Okay.
Cool. So that's P2. P2 is just the mind controls, the decimator, which is now just don't stand in shit or don't stand in fire. There's no knockback effect. Tanks get mechanics to do, and our 8 people who are doing soaks have Beyblades. Any questions?
The biggest challenge, like the biggest learning curve, is going to be getting a sense for where you go in our slice of the room with your torment soaks, and then where the safe spot is. Like, there's nothing. Phase 2 is easier than phase 1. It's truly a matter of not letting the mind control people throw themselves off the side and getting the torments safe.
Yep, and the goal melee is for us to be spread around the boss, such that when the torment echoes go down, everyone just steps immediately under the boss, and we don't get hit by the echo. That will be the same philosophy that we use in P3. So good to build the muscle memory here in P2.
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The third and fourth tank soaks, can you go to that screen?
Yeah. Too many screens. This one.
Can I do the fourth one before we do the third?
I think that's fine. If you want to switch, if you want to go 4-3, I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, because that first one is kind of far, and so we were seeing if my little
Rec can get there.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
That's fine. Like, as long as I defer to you guys on exactly how you want to do it, but we want this top pillar to be the one that connects.
Yeah, no, that's essentially how we did it on Heroic 2 with Lyaka just jumping to Narnia each time.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, as long as our top pillar's going in, because that sort of sets the stage, right, for how our big spooky line works. And then we can predictably bait the defiles and handle all of the stuff in P3 accordingly.
P3, hilariously, is just so short now.
Yeah.
Like, we are going to deal with 1 to potentially 2 defiles in P3. It's not Defile Bait 4. It's Defile Bait 1 and maybe 2.
Yeah, I have the rest of these in here just for my own reference, but really it's the stuff going over here on the left is the stuff that we need to know. And I have a POV of a couple things for P3 that we'll talk about. The first is about P3 torments, and the second is about like the P3 positioning. But I do want to sort of quickly take a pause. We've been at this for about an hour. P2, I think, is the more important thing. Do folks want to talk about P3 tonight, or do we want to take a minute, take a step back? We've got about a 55-minute recording that we're going to be posting for people who aren't here, and we can touch on P3 in our next VOD review. I defer to you guys. I'm happy to go through it.
Still had a quick thing about P2.
Oh, yeah. Let's go back.
If you'll go back to the 8 people with, Beyblades. Yep, you were there.
Yep,
there. I'm assuming you said for that bottom left group to point it at Ben. I'm assuming you just want us to do the opposite, so we would point it at Wrath.
Yeah, right? So I made an example with Taco, right? But if I were to like copy this up and stick it on you,
right? We were just pointing it at the wherever they are. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the same concept, right? So
at 6:50 in the VOD. Sorry, I have like fiberglass stuck in my throat. At 6:50 in the VOD, he explains it really well and how you align the crosshair with the boss.
Yep.
And how that'll basically always guarantee that you're pointed toward the other group.
I'm going to unmute this real quick because I think
after the soak, all of the Beyblades will kind of blur together, so you want to be ready to sidestep towards Azeroth and dodge any incoming blades. If any stray towards the melee group, they should be called out and avoided. Healers should be extra vigilant of these players' health and make sure to top them before each soak. During phase 2, the tanks will need to run out to shatter the corrupted, and the tanks should be extra careful to use externals, as tanks get used to the amount of damage they'll be taking while out of range of the boss. In phase 2, the torments will have damage they'll be taking while this is a good place to use externals, as tanks get used to the amount of damage they'll be taking while out of range of the boss. In phase 2, the torments will leave puddles under.
Oh yeah.
During phase 2, you'll also start getting the Decimator knockback. This slam is targeted near a ranged player.
Updated.
And at a certain distance.
Maybe
Updated, fake news. Hang on.
Six.
I think I know where it is. I think it's right here. Yeah, right here. 512.
So I like to first make sure I'm directly in line with the puddle and Azeroth.
So he's just explaining for the 4 people. This is going to be key. How you position.
And then be sure I'm spaced equally between 2 of my teammates. Then locate the boss, line up my crosshair evenly between them, and make any final minor adjustments, typically angling slightly towards the back of the other group. After the soak.
And that's it. It's just
the whole deal.
That's the whole deal. But yeah, so Kieran, just as an example, right? If we were to make yours magenta for illustrative purposes, you would kind of, just
I got it now.
Cool.
I just wanted to double check. Make sure I'm not supposed to kill Ben on purpose. Do we want to trust Wither with it? Are you good to do that, Wither? Do you understand?
Shots fired.
We don't have any more range.
He's not here to defend himself. Rip.
He is here.
He's muted.
Oh.
He's like giving you an earful right now.
He can't unmute because he's on the shit.
True.
He's on the pot, man.
Just horrible sounds.
So,
if you want to talk just super quick, I think phase 3 torments are.
Yeah, I think phase 3 torments are the big one. The rest kind of comes and is in our raid plan already. There's this very slow talking man named Slothface who I think does a pretty good job of it. But basically, in what?
I love Slothface. Thank you.
He does. I'm not being facetious. But just like we had the melee spread around the boss, in P2, what's going to happen here is
these 5 points.
Everyone's going to stack in the spot that they're weak where it tells them around the boss. You're going to drop your torment ads, and then everyone's going to move under the boss. The exception to this is hunters who are going to pre-turtle the application of torment so that they don't get the debuff. So right here, you can see, and I'm going to unmute them.
See, they're stacked here in the center, and they don't get hit by any of these extra aftershock swirlies. That is what's most likely to wipe you at this point if you don't get these. Because even if you're ranged and you're supposed to be getting to this point, if you drop your torment here, you're not going to be able to run through this torment to the bait spot before these go off. So you want to drop it off, get to the clear spot that everyone's left in the center, and then run to the bait spot.
Right. And so what that means, like if you look at this, you can see torment stack, torment stack, torment stack, torment stack, torment stack. There's no torment, even though there's swirlies all around them. There's no torment right on the tanks. So we want to leave the tanks clear, and then everyone stacks in. The torment swirls go away.
That's what's really.
And he'll hopefully hit play here. The torment swirls go. Yeah, whoop.
And super importantly,
Hopefully.
torment differs in this phase in that only 5 people get it, and it spawns an ad when it drops,
Or
which is why
10
they have to be
10
under
people.
the boss.
Yeah.
Or sorry, yeah, but 5 at a time, right? Or is it actually?
No, it's 10. You get 10
okay,
people.
right. Sorry, and you're stacking 2 on. Yes, right.
Yeah.
2 on each spot.
Correct. So you
But
see
10
here,
instead of 20, and they spawn ads.
Right. You see here you've got 2, 2, 2, 2, 1 though. This 1 is because a hunter pre-turtled and they were going to get another torment there that they now don't have because of the pre-turtle. You can get lucky on some pulls and get more. You can get unlucky on other pulls and get fewer. But the pre-turtle is nice because it's just less raid damage going out. It's fewer ads that you have to kill because at this point right here is when we lust. We've got a giant. We're about to get a 6 stack here. You can see they've got 3 right now. Someone's going to step into this, get them a full set of 6 stack buff. We lust, and you pop all your pots and everything and burn the boss. And the ads down. So this is just a big do damage moment. And you can see the same thing in the LE Shaman POV as well. I think this one was good when we got to that same point. And I'm just going to let this play because you can kind of get a sense of the movement in P3. There's a bunch of shit that happens. You get another decimator. You walk away from it. You walk away from it. We're all going to stack in our spot. The healing cooldowns are going to go down. Tank's going to get chains. You're going to immediately break them. That tank did it by taking the gate. So even if Nash gets it, you get hit by the frontal. You're going to get the buff here. Now you've got 3 stacks of the buff. You're doing 21% extra damage. You're doing damage. The boss, this is super important. The boss, just like Sylvanas, starts casting Defile. You take the gateway. The POV here actually gates a little bit late. As soon as the boss starts casting, you want to gate. This is the same weak ore that we're using. You're going to get this little radius here. These 2 are towards the front. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You go to your spot. You stack with your friend. You want to overlap your circle. So you see this is the same thing we just talked about. 5 groups. A hole in the middle. They're going to drop. Everyone's going to walk in. And then you're going to have ads and you're going to kill. Right? You've got... And then you see here... I'm going to slow it down just a lick. No, I'm not, because YouTube is going to mess with me. But you see they've got 5 stacks. They're kind of stepping into this and then stepping back out. But they'll step in one more time, I think, here. Yep, get the last stack. So they're just refreshing it so that they're keeping that for as long as possible. And they're already in P4 because they're absolute animals. But the goal, right? So they did it in 1 defile. We're probably going to do it in 1 to 2 defiles. But at this point, we're just doing our thing. We're handling the runes. We're living life, right? But then it's just P1 again. P1 again, plus a mechanic called Meteor Strike, Meteor Smash. I don't remember exactly. Cleave, yes. That'll come later. But we can probably kill the boss before there's a single one. So let's do that, shall we?
Yeah, they have 38 seconds before their second one. So yeah, they did get one. They had 38 seconds until their second one.
It probably comes pretty quick.
Where was
Meteor Cleave is one of
here's the first
2...
one. Yeah. Here's the first one.
Meteor Cleave is one of 2 mechanics that
you won't have seen before.
Bombs again. One of 2 mechanics that still has a knockback on this fight.
Yep. And it's just
the tank
it's a
smash
frontal.
in the first one, and the
It's
meteor
a frontal.
cleave on this one.
Yeah.
Yep, it is a frontal cone that has a knockback.
That has to be soaked, similar to the tank smash.
I will also point out, like they weren't like insanely ahead going into that phase. Like they started the phase at 30%.
Yep.
Which is kind of typical at this point. And they still only got the 1 defile. So at most 2 defiles, and the counterplay to defile is the same as
Yep.
You're baiting and hustling.
We don't need to go deeper into P3 stuff, but we've got the movement mapped out as far as how things will go. We've got the assignments out there in the world. Holy, you have an assigned grip. Ice, you're going to be blinking, but if you need a grip, you're going to call Codex's grip. And then we basically just copy paste the same thing around the room. We will likely not connect this second group, but if we do, it's still going to be in the same order. We're going to handle the torment ads. We're going to get our 6 stack, and we're going to lust, press all of our buttons, and burn. And that's it. That's the fight.
Does somebody have any questions about any of that?
Just if there has been any debate on the Monday thing. If you guys have talked
we
about
are
that,
I'm going to post a survey here in a minute, and the first question, even though it's not really a tier survey, is about willingness and or availability, because I think part of it is gonna be about, it's gonna turn on how we do tomorrow, and we're gonna try to pulse check, where it seems like we stand, because I think everybody for sure wants to finish out CE. So just trying to figure out where we stand on availability on Monday and or Wednesday. And so that'll be posted shortly.
Yep.
I'm just waiting until after this to do that because I didn't want to distract people.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop.
Any other questions?
Recording.
Anything else? Anything else?